Hey everyone, Shankar here, and well, the seasons have certainly changed since I last published a video. It's been a while because I've been grieving for my dog, uh, and actually the last video that I made featured him and was about the difficulties around the end of his life and sense of self and of selfishness, and I will publish that at some point, so that's all to come. But today I want to talk to you about something else, because the circus is in town, which is very exciting, but does also relate to my dog a little bit as well. Because, and this might come as a bit of a shock to those of you who live in places where it's not allowed, here in France, circuses are still allowed to transport and use animals in their shows. Now, this particular circus hasn't come to Chamonix itself, it's in a village down the road, but still in the valley, and judging from the flyers, it's also only domesticated animals. So first of all, let's assume that's true and take it as a massive step forwards, that it's only a couple of years ago that we'd have circuses with posters with images of tigers and lions and elephants and all of those animals, because you could see them from the road, were kept in tiny cages, transported around the country, and thank God, thanks to the hard work of a lot of people campaigning about it, that's no longer happening, at least here in the Chamonix Valley. Nevertheless, domesticated animals are being used in this show, and the fact that they're domesticated animals rather than wild animals does cloud matters a little bit, and I can see why some people might see it in a different way, and it definitely gives more traction to the people who turn around and say, well, you have cats, or you have dogs, or you ride horses, and call you a hypocrite for asking questions about whether we really want that to be happening. For me, I do see a distinction in which, well, first of all, for me personally, my dog Puku, I never ever taught him anything that I felt was a trick. And actually, it used to be quite amusing to watch the pure disdain with which he treated people that would try and get him to high five or paw or roll over. So yeah, happy memories of the character of dog that he was. In saying that, I accept and am aware that different dogs are different, and some dogs need that stimulation of constantly learning new stuff, and so sometimes tricks are the only thing that we can use to enrich their life experience. But for my dog, everything that I taught him was about his safety, his security, and his well-being. You know, I took responsibility for the fact that I took him into a lot of hostile environments, both here in the mountains, but also in cities and in environments where there are a lot of people, sometimes people who'd been taking drink or drugs, and those of you that knew him knew that he was calm in all those situations, and part of the reason for that was the respect with which I treated him, and the fact that I taught him interactions, and I did think about them as interactions rather than commands, that were about his quality of life and his safety. But as I said, that doesn't necessarily apply to all dogs, but that comes to the crux of the point, which is, you know, in an environment, in a situation where we're dealing with an animal to whom we relate to personally, then you know, it might not always be loving, it might sometimes be about ego, but generally it's loving, and generally it's an interaction with that particular dog and that particular relationship, and it's very personal. This isn't always the case if we talk, well, you know, usually it's not for your own entertainment as well, and in the case that we're talking about a professional situation where it's for entertainment. In fact, you might even say a circus is an industrialized situation of using animals for entertainment. And as soon as it's professionalized, then the relationship changes and the emotional content changes. Things like efficiency become factors, both efficiency of your time and efficiency financially. Your emotional response when things aren't working out is different, and you know, there are a lot of people that love animals working in animal professions, obviously, but I'm sure that most of those people would also say that the relationship is different, and particularly when you're talking about entertainment. And let's face it, historically, circuses haven't had the best track record of how they've treated animals. So that's my take on why, even though it's domesticated animals, I personally don't want to go and see them in a circus. But actually, we don't even need to get all caught up in that, you know, fine differentiation of right and wrong, because there's a much more important principle at play here, which is the principle that is a yoga principle, but actually is common almost throughout Eastern philosophies, which is the principle of doing least harm. It's not commandments of doing this or that. It's, you know, applying the principle of least harm. And in this situation, it's very easy to ask ourselves, and I'm asking you, do we need it? Do we need this form of entertainment when now we have such rich entertainment at our hands? You know, we have so many different kinds of opportunities to see animals in their own environments through the rich media that we have in their natural behaviours. I mean, is it really still entertaining to us to see animals behaving in a way that they've had to be, you know, trained to do? Are we still impressed by that? And I think that, you know, in a way, I want to bring up lockdown again, because lockdown has really, personally for me, and I hope for you too, given me an opportunity to reality check what's important to me and what I really get fulfillment from, and to focus on the things that are important to me and not get swept along by, you know, we've always done it, or, you know, as, you know, giving our children the things we had as a child or whatever. But I have to say that, okay, here's a really important point, is that I'm not about stopping animals in the circus because I want to impose my values on other people. It's absolutely not that. I want to stop animals being in the circus because I love the circus. You know, but the circus for me is the atmosphere, the colours, the lights, seeing your friends across the ring. Yes, acrobatics, yes, clowning, you know, all of that stuff. And even as a child, you know, it didn't really impress me to be, you know, dragged around and see these animals in cages, and you know, see someone make animals do this or that or the other. You know, there are much more impressive things that can happen in a circus, that human beings, the amazing animals that we are capable of, and that's what I want to see. So I want to stop animals being used in circuses because I want to go, and I won't go if there are animals in the circus, because, you know, we think a lot about progress, or we talk a lot about progress, and we've got the whole 5G thing going on at the moment, and I think we've shown that we can technologically progress, and we've shown that we can, you know, exploit the resources to improve people's quality of life, or actually standard of living, and that we can have access to all these things, including, you know, commanding animals. And for me, you know, human progress is about the progress of humanity. It's about our standards for living. So, you know, when we look at it like that, for me personally, it seems quite clear that we should stop using animals for entertainment, both in circuses and in our own personal lives, but especially in circuses, because I want to go to the circus. So that's all I've got for you today. Peace, love and good vibes, and don't think of it as you, think about it as us.